important, and it does, matter that the friends that you keep, that they should be positive as well. Because if you're just, a dark person hanging out with dark people, and they're in their darkness, you're never going to get out of it, and it's always going to be, you know, the bad things.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. We appreciate you subscribing, sharing our videos, asking questions in the comments that we get to the artists that we speak with, because this is about building a community of people who are actually learning from one another, learning about people's experience in the music business, little tips, tricks, advice, as well as getting to know artists on a deeper level. So today, I'm excited to welcome Gizz Lazlo, LA punk legend. Be careful, his head may get really big on the screen at any moment as I tell you a little bit about him. So he's the former drummer for UK Subs, Dr. No and the Freeze. I came across Gizz while he's drumming for LA Slumlords at Punk Rock Bowling Weekend. And now he's a frontman for the band Foreclosure, who actually have a new single out called Careful What You Wish For. Gizz, thanks for joining me, buddy.
Thank you, man. First off, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Another trip around the sun, and I look great for 28. So
wow, 28. That was a rough 27, huh?
It was a rough 27. It's I'm a firm believer. Life is what we make of it, and if we don't let things bother us too much, we're better off than if we put the weight of the world on our shoulders. So, but I appreciate the birthday wishes. So I want everybody to learn about Foreclosure, and then we'll kind of take a step back to figure out, learn how you got there. But I'll be honest with you, you were in a band called For Sale. You perform with the LA Slumlords, Foreclosure. If I didn't know better, I'd say all you guys in the band work in real estate during the day.
No, it's funny because it's come up a few times now in the last few weeks that this whole real estate thing. And no, I don't think anybody in the band is involved in any type of real estate. I think a couple of guys own houses, and that's about it. I'm almost homeless, so.
Well, whether it was intentional or not, I mean, it's a great theme. Perhaps, perhaps there's an opportunity for your whatever next band name you have to be real estate themed, or it could be another career move if this music thing doesn't work out. You never know. But tell us a little bit about Foreclosure. Tell us about the new single, "Careful What You Wish For," where that came from, and kind of get us up to speed on the band.
The band started. It came from the ashes of a band called For Sale, which got together in 1992 after a stint of cancer that I had, and I was originally drumming for another band and kind of singing, but during chemotherapy, I couldn't play drums for about 8 months. So Lewis decided, hey, why don't you move over to vocal and just start singing, and we'll start something new. And we did that for about a year and a half, and then everybody went and did their own thing. And then about 2016, Lewis was diagnosed with cancer, and as we were chatting, we kind of were like, oh, well, why don't we do the same thing again? Let's keep you busy and occupied while you're going through this. And so we got the band back together with a couple of new members. We did that for probably about a year and a half, 2 years. But the drummer and the guitar player for that lineup, they just, I don't think they were really into it. So they actually missed a recording session that we were going to go record some songs at. So Lewis and I and our bass player Steve, we decided to just record an acoustic version of one of our songs, and just to pass the time and do it. And through that, we did the one song, and then Lewis and I were just kind of disenfranchised and disappointed with the whole for sale thing. So we had some songs, and we had a drummer who wanted to get involved with us, Wally Rashidi, and during that we were like, well, we have a handful of songs that we still have. Let's just record them and just get them out there, and Lewis was like, yeah, I want to do this, but I just want to do it for closure. And at that point, I was just like, well, that's the name of the band. And we recorded, I think, 4 songs in 2022. And then 2023, we recorded, I think 4 more. And then we had a couple of other ones that we'd worked on. And we got those together. And then we have a 10-song full length coming out in November. And it's just been pretty good, like just recording and then doing a bunch of shows. Again, the whole band was just like, oh, let's just have fun. And we played one show because a friend's band was doing a reunion show. And from that, we've done over a dozen shows now. And, anything we get offered, we're doing. We're going out of town now to do shows. And, it's 5 friends just having fun. We have no expectations. But every time we, I guess it's kind of like what they say about being in a relationship. When you're not looking for it, that's when it finds you. And I think that's what happened to all of us in this. We weren't really looking for anything, and we're getting all these offers, and it's pretty fun, and it's a different type of music, different genre, different style, and it's fun. Bunch of dads. Well, I'm not, but everybody else is the dad, and we're doing all these like pop punk type of songs. But they're
Cool.
definitely.
Well, I'm just kind of
painful
curious.
lyrics.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, this just came to me. The guys that you go back in that to talk about the guys who didn't make that recording session. Did they become the band For Lease?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
They went off to create forms.
They're definitely, for rent right now. So.
I couldn't resist, buddy.
That's good.
Along the way, if I remember correctly, you guys got a pretty big shout out. You guys have been on Little Steven's Underground Garage, haven't you?
Yeah. Stevie Van Zandt gave us a call, and he was really interested in one of our songs, and he put us on with the Mighty Manfred. And we were back in February. A song that Lewis and I had written called "Moon at Noon" was the coolest song in the world for the last week of January. And I think it was January. And then in February, the Mighty Manfred interviewed me for the Coolest Conversations, which was an amazing thing, and just to have somebody like that, interested in your band and a song, and taking that, the time to go, hey man, like I really like this. And I think a lot of it had to do with the subject matter. It was about my father who had suffered a heart attack 5 years ago. I wrote the song. We recorded a demo of it, and then like I said, in 2022 or 23, we recorded it for this album. But we were just releasing singles, and when it released, it was just the amount of feedback we got from it was really cool. And then, unfortunately, in January, right after my dad actually heard the song on the radio, my dad passed. And then in February, that's when we started doing all these, Coolest Conversations and Coolest Song in the World. And it's just, it's like, if you believe in God or the universe or whatever. It just felt like, my dad, he's always had my back, but now it's, my guardian angel. It feels like everything that's happening right now, just, it just, to me, it feels like my dad has something to do with it, man. Like he's always been, a supporter of my career and as a musician, which is really weird, you know.
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely, as you take emotional and mental note of something like that, I'm sure something like that can appear in your lyrics at some point down the road with your continued writing.
Yeah, right now I'm writing a bunch of songs, and I'm in several bands, so lyrically I'm always writing about something, and we're already starting to write new songs for the next Foreclosure record. As a matter of fact, today, as soon as we're done, I go into my studio and start writing and recording a brand new song for my Australian band Screw Tape, and it's actually a pretty cool little song that we're going to do. It has nothing to do with our albums. It's a one-off song, and it's about something that happened here near in my town, and back in 1937. It's a really cool story, and it just involves three people, and it's just really interesting. But I'm really kind of looking forward to writing something, because it's going to be dark. That's all I write. I love dark lyrics with poppy type of music. So I love that juxtapose of really happy music and really depressing lyrics. So
So upbeat and downbeat simultaneously.
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Well, just here's one interesting topic. I mean, it's not about foreclosure, but aren't you also you're also singing for a band? Correct me if I'm wrong, because you're in LA, but you're actually singing for a band in Australia.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah. A band called Screw Tape. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's one hell of a commute to play those gigs, isn't it?
It's funny because we were in 2020. We were discussing me going over there and doing some shows and some touring, and I've never met the guys like face to face. I've been a fan of uh, their band that they were many years ago called Dementia 13. But Rob and I, the guitar player, he and I just, we became really good friends. We wrote this record and it was really cool. And then the pandemic started, so touring was out. And we've done, I think, our fourth record's ready to be released in a couple of months. And like I said, as soon as I'm done here, I go into the studio and start recording a brand new song for us. So it's fun. I mean, it's weird being in a band that's released four records and I've never met them. You know, we've partied online. Through, video calls and stuff, and they're drinking, I'm drinking, and we have fun, and we're just joking. It's kind of weird because we speak the same language, but it's so hard to understand them sometimes, especially when there's alcohol involved. There's a lot of mate going around, and then I find myself saying it.
I can imagine. I can just imagine. So you've got that band, and Foreclosure's got a new single out, so Foreclosure's got a new album coming up, isn't it? Yeah. Isn't there going to be a release pretty soon?
Yeah, in November. I believe November 8th is the release date.
Well, mark that on your calendar, everybody. To November 8th, put your pennies and quiet money aside so you can purchase the new album.
It's going to be on 12-inch vinyl.
By Foreclosure. There you go. For those of you who are spinning records, make sure November 8th it's coming. I'm kind of curious. So, it was by almost necessity that you came out from behind the drum kit to sing, right? Mm-hmm. Those are two different, music is music, but those are two different skill sets, right? Mm-hmm. How was that transition for you? How did that kind of progress? And originally when you were just, a little kid, did you want to be a drummer? Did you want to be a singer? How did, go back to there and how arrived to where we are today?
In 1977, I had a cousin who passed away in Detroit, and that's where my mom's from. So we flew out there for the funeral, and we were out there for about a week. And one of those days that I was there, all my cousins who were much older than me were like, "Hey, we're going to go to the circus. We're going to take Junior with us." And My parents were like, "Oh, just going out with his cousins to a circus? Sure, take him." I was 6 years old, and they took me to a Psycho Circus, which was to go see Kiss. And I'm a cat lover, and I saw a cat playing drums and singing, and I was totally, you know, like that's what I wanted to do. Like I saw that, I was like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what I want to do. I want to play drums and I want to sing. And when I came back, I started, singing, at the church choir across the street from my house. My mom worked there, so every time she'd be working there, the choir would be singing and I would be humming along or, singing along. And they asked me to come up. About 8 years old, I sang my first solo in church. And then when I was about 13, I started playing drums. And about 14, 15, I got into my first band. And by 15, 16, I was already recording and touring with the band. So it's always been something that I love to do. And here I am 40 years later, and I'm still doing it. And I love it. I don't get sick of it. Like some guys, especially my age in our 50s, like, oh, dude, I just don't like the road anymore. But I love it. And I kind of attribute that to, not having a family. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't even have a girlfriend. So I just, I do music every day, with one band or another band, or I'm doing interviews or, posters for the band or booking shows or help to book shows. And, it's fun. I don't know how anybody can, have a career spanning 30 years and they go, oh, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. I just don't see it. But then again, I don't have kids and a wife to, nag me not to do it.
I understand completely. Let's talk about that road piece there for a second. I mean, we came in contact with each other because of your performance at Punk Rock Bowling, which was an incredible weekend. And for anybody who's been watching our videos, we've been doing a lot around punk lately. You should definitely spend a weekend at Punk Rock Bowling, at least one. It should be like one of those bucket list trips that you have. Like, I'm going to go experience this because it truly is an experience. You were there with the LA Slumlords. Tell me about the experience of playing the main stage, because I'll be honest with you, of all the drummers of all the bands, you looked to me like you had the most fun of any of them.
I did because I went to the first one it was 99 or 2000, and there's been 24 Punk Rock Bowlings. I've played, these little side stages and these clubs, over the weekends, many, many, many times. And they weren't official, Punk Rock Bowling shows, but there were shows during Punk Rock Bowling weekend. And I had so much fun, and just the camaraderie of it, all the friends from all over the world that come out for that one weekend, and we all get to just hang out, and drink and in the streets 24 hours, it's a beautiful thing. And to go fast forward from 2000 to 2024, and to be asked, hey, we want you to play on the main stage, it was just like, wow, man, like all that hard work actually paid off, and to be up on that stage, playing for a really cool band with your friends, and it was just incredible, man. Like, of course I was smiling because it's, from playing at, these little crappy clubs and dive bars, parking lots, to being on the main stage. To me, I was proud. I know my dad would have been proud, and I was definitely proud of myself. Like, man, I finally did it. Like, I'm here, and yeah, I was smiling the whole time. My drum tech was like, "Dude, you're an idiot. Quit smiling." And and I was alcohol free that whole day until after we played. Like, it was really hard because I love to drink, but we're like, I'm out here to do a job. So I played it sober and just have fun with it. And yeah, the pictures that I've seen you took, man, yeah, I'm smiling. I'm happy. I'm the happiest man in the world for that 30 minutes that we were up on that stage.
Well, now I could I could absolutely tell. I mean, a lot of drummers get these really contorted, weird looks when they're drumming, and I'm looking at it at, about 10 frames a second, right? Every photo of you, you just have this Cheshire cat big grin on your face, and that you're loving every minute of it. So I think that was a really, truly a great experience for you.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of, by the way, speaking of like, big stage to small clubs, another place you played is the Double Down in Las Vegas. Tell people what that's like for those who have never been to the Double Down.
If you like really dingy dive bars, dirty, it's the place to go. I mean, it's like Las Vegas's version of CBGB's. Um, that if you're cool if you have the beer. If the shots, I'm always a little leery of, but they have this one drink that I know the ass juice, that is just you never know what you're gonna get, and sometimes it could be good, but most of the time it's not. And I've had many, many, many shots there. Back 30 years ago when we started playing out there a lot, I became friends with Rob Ruckus from the Berman and now the Shakewells, and he works at the Punk Rock Museum. He's one of my truly my dearest friends, man. And when I go out there, I stay with him because it's like, why? Not that I'm being cheap, but I love staying with my friends. Even when we're on tour, I like staying at my friend's house. I don't want to stay at a hotel. I want to stay with my friends. And I stay with him, and we're always having fun. But he worked at the Double Down, so I had a lot of ass juice back in the day, man, and it was horrible, absolutely horrendous. I swore I would never do it again. But if you and I are in Vegas, I will have one with you.
Oh, look, I will tell you, you never know what you're gonna get with ass juice. But I draw the line at ass nog during the holidays. That I can't go there.
I don't know, man. When you think about it, the ass juice that they have in eggnog might be better.
I when I was a kid, I mixed alcohol and milk one time, and that was more than enough for me to ever do it again. So, but
that's weird. That's weird because one of my favorite drinks is a White Russian, and that's milk and vodka. So yeah. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. I've never had tequila in milk, but I've had tequila in Kahlua. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try some drinks today, milk based.
If it's good and you name it, let me know, and we'll get together again and talk about the name of the drink. Taking a kind of a turn back, I want to dive into something that you mentioned earlier that's on the top of my head. You write poppy punky music as the base of the track, and it's upbeat. But then your lyrics on the other end of the spectrum are really on the downside, dark, dingy, gritty lyrics. Who are some of the artists who have influenced that type of writing for you over the years, and what did you take from learning from them to put into your own sound and style?
I don't think I learned anything lyrically from anyone. I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories through song. So vocals styles definitely, like, John Kastner from the Doughboys is a huge influence. Frankie Stubbs from Leatherface. Duncan Redman from Snuff. Jason Bebout from Sam I Am. Like, those guys are the ones that influenced my vocal stylings. But lyrically, everything that I write is from my experiences, things that I've seen with my eyes, things I feel with my heart, and I have to write about them sometimes just to get those dark things out of me, out of my head, and I have to let them go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but for the most part, especially with this last batch of songs we've written, definitely has been very therapeutic for me to get those songs out. And once they're recorded and I listen to them, then it's like, all right, cool, I can let go of it. but if ever I want to go back and just like sometimes, a lot of people I know, especially nowadays, a lot of people are just numb, from everything that's happened in the world in the last few years, and a lot of people started experiencing death in a multitude. Like you know, you're used to, man, a friend passes away here and there, but in the last years, I've had probably in the last 5 years 100 people, 100 friends and relatives pass away. It was like every day somebody would pass away, and that I knew, and it takes its toll. I had a my lady that I was dating for about 4 years. She passed away in in 19, and it just threw me for a loop. I spiraled out of control, and it was weird because I never thought depression was real until that point. And when that happened, I, I was in darkness for 4 years, 4.5 years, and it wasn't until like maybe 8 months ago that I got out of that, and it was through another friend who passed. I've said often that what death took away from me, death gave back to me, and had I not experienced those two deaths, I don't think I would have been prepared for my father's. And when my father, left this earth, I was okay with it because he was really sick for a while, and I was there. I held his hand when he went, and you know, at that point, I knew. I was like, all right, Dad, like this is it. Like now that you're gone, I don't have anything holding me back now to be at home. I'm gonna go back on the road because that's where I want to be. And then writing about those stories and everything. That's, I think, you know, I only know darkness, man. I'm 53, and yes, I've lived a blessed life. Having two amazing parents who I never saw argue, but in in everything that I do, it's just those lyrics are just I want. If you listen to the song on your stereo, you're gonna think, "Oh wow, man, that's pretty heavy." But if you come to see us live and you hear me and you see me sing those songs, that emotion is 100-fold, more intense because I feel it every time I sing those songs, and I want you to know the story and feel the story. I don't want you just to go, "Oh, I love that song." I want you to go, "Wow, he's hurt. That guy is hurting." Or he was hurting. That song comes from someplace. It's not just here's a story. You know.
I mean, music has such therapeutic qualities to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's great just to look into the music to find the things that help fill your soul, to help you get to where you want to be in the world, right? And to feel the
Mm-hmm.
way you want to feel. And I think that's one of the greatest things about music, that it brings us.
It's just it's sad when like Chester and Chris Cornell, those guys. Like I didn't know those guys personally. I love their music, but the passing of those two people affected me because of the way that they went. They took their own lives, and I I was there at one point, man, and it's like now, like after shows, if somebody comes up and wants to talk to me, or they're kind of like shy, or a little like I don't know if I should bother him, I'll make myself uh, approachable. I'll be at the merch booth, or I'll be at the bar, and if somebody is just kind of staring, you can feel it when somebody is not in a good place. You can see it in their eyes, you can see it in their soul, and I'll go over there and I'll start joking with them, and once we just start talking, and if you're hurting, you just want to talk about it sometimes, and especially if you've heard our songs, or me, I'm an open book. When I was depressed, everybody knew it. I wasn't hiding it. And, um, but yeah, some people will come up and I'll let them talk, man. But I think the most important thing nowadays is that because of the internet and because everybody thinks they're smarter than everybody else, or they're more intelligent, or like everybody goes on WebMD and they know everything about medicine, or mental health. When somebody with a mental health issue is talking to you, they're crying out for help, but they're not crying out for your advice. You don't know shit. If you're not a therapist or whatever, don't even try to give anybody advice, because what they're going through is something you've probably never felt. So just sit there and be an ear and a shoulder. Don't like, oh yeah, dude, I totally understand. Your lady passed away. Oh yeah, well I had this dog and it passed away, so I know how you feel. It's not the same. Or your father, your mother, a brother or sister. It's different when it's your mate, when it's your lover, when it's somebody that you're in love with. If that person passes, it's all bets are off, man. Especially if you're the one that binds them. Come home and they're there and they've been there for alone for 5 or 6 hours, dude. It changes you as a person, and it definitely changed me. So, but without that experience, I wouldn't be here and being able to talk to people, because before, yeah, I probably would have just bullshitted my way into, telling somebody, oh yeah, don't worry about it, dude, just have a drink, you know, forget about it. Oh, it'll pass. No, it doesn't. It's going to be with me for the rest of my life. It changed me, but you just need to know that there are better days, and you got to do it. Continue doing what you love. Life, my dad told me, is about being happy, and I'm truly happy when I'm on a stage or I'm in a recording studio or in a rehearsal studio. If it's something involving music, I am truly happy. If it's not, whatever, I have fun with my friends, but, and my family, but it's a different happiness. And to be a musician, you can do it anytime you want. You're driving to the store, or an appointment. You can sing, you can tap on the steering wheel, you can play air guitar, whatever you want to do, but it's musical. And I love it. I'm definitely blessed to have, you know, to be able to play drums and sing for many bands, and it's never going to get boring to me. Again, we go back to what our earlier conversation was. With I don't understand it. I don't understand how people can go, yeah, I'm done with that. I'm done with that part of my life.
Yeah. Well, people get there. I think it's important to have people in your world who can identify it and help, where they can, how they can best help someone. And I think one of the great things is that you figured it out so that you're still here with us to share more music with us. I think that's fabulous in and of its own right. That we're going to get to enjoy more of Gizz Lazlo and the Lazloification of his sounds and songs. So I think it's great. But I think when if you reach that point, hopefully you reach out to other people, or you have a circle of people in your life that can help lift you up and just get you to where you can create a new normalcy and continue on, as opposed to not continuing at all.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely important, and it does, matter that the friends that you keep, that they should be positive as well. Because if you're just, a dark person hanging out with dark people, and they're in their darkness, you're never going to get out of it, and it's always going to be, the bad things, especially if you're hooked on some type of, drug that your friends do, and then you just like that's just another thing to add on top of what you're already going through. It doesn't make drugs don't make anything better, unless you're happy.
Yeah. Well, look, and another thing that people can do to bring happiness into their life: buy the music of the foreclosure. As I say every single episode.
Wow. I like that.
Foreclosure. Yeah.
The foreclosures.
That's what, if the band comes to an end, and if the band comes to an end, it'll just rename it the Foreclosed. But
that's gonna be my solo band, the Foreclosures, like the Lone Rangers.
But no, everybody, look. I mean, I say this all the time. I say this all the time. You know, purchase and support your musicians that you like and enjoy. Buy their music, buy their merch. Don't rent it, because at the end of the day, they can have millions of streams and they get a check in the mail for 32 cents. And it's just not a fulfilling moment for them. But on that note, we also like to share here. So who are a few bands that like are real earworms for you lately? They look, we all know you're a big Swiftie, but is there anyone else that that you currently have on rotation that you really enjoy listening to, that you'd like to share a few band names and give them some love?
It's funny because since Foreclosure started and the bands that we play with, a lot of those bands, it's like the first time, I get to see them. There's been one band that a few months ago, they would have these like sponsored ads on social media. And I kept seeing it pop up, and finally I was like, I got to check these guys out. I checked out one of their songs, and I was like, oh my God, I love these guys. So I sent a text to everybody in the band and go, hey, you guys got to check out this band. And I think a couple of days later, my guitar player, he was booking a show, and he was like, hey, we're playing up north, and that band that you were talking about, they're the headliner. I was like, oh, no way. So I got to play with this band that I actually like. And then, but every band that we've played with is like really cool. Like there's Cutlass Supreme. They're half from North California and half from Southern California. Amazing band. We played with a Brazilian band called End of Pipe that are phenomenal. There's a band that features Sean from a band that used to be called Loose Change. And that band was pretty popular because the guitar player was Jade from AFI, and their new band is called Love Equals Death. And the band that I was talking about, they're from up north. It's called Too Bad Eugene. And then there's a local band here. A kid named Eli is the vocalist, songwriter, and just an amazing kid. He's in his late 20s, but he's amazing. He could, I could have been his father. He could have been my son. Just his look and his voice and his attitude, and but his band is called Couch Surf. Fucking amazing band. So like, it's just really cool to be a part of the scene, and again, like I said, I'm in my 50s, and I don't get sick of it. I love punk rock in any form. I am more of a fan of songs than I am of bands nowadays, because I don't think any band, again, I'm not able to buy records because I really don't go out much, but I do go on YouTube, and I'll spend my evenings or early mornings just listening to stuff, and and I love it, man. There also another one is an old friend of mine. He just released a full-length album on vinyl, Sharif Dumani, and his solo album is just incredible. I just finished listening to it last night, and it's just like, man, there's so many bands. Like I could go on and on and on and on and on, because I love music. So me and you, when we hang out, I mean, it's going to be one of those nights where it's just going to be like, oh, I've never heard that. Ooh, I've never heard that. And we're just going to be with, old school pen and pencil,
You know what? I'm all for it. I mean, it's been incredible. Just the last 6 months, so many new bands. And then there was so much I heard at Punk Rock Bowling Weekend that I hadn't been exposed to these bands. And it's so fulfilling. So I know that, for sure, you and I sit down and hang in person. There's going to be a fair amount of alcohol and a lot of music listened to. So, Gizz, I appreciate you joining us. Everybody, please, as I say, go and support your musicians, right? And please come back for more hangs with us. We've got a whole roster and variety of musicians coming up, every kind of genre. And one of the great things is you may just find somebody you've never seen before and get really hooked on their music. So Thanks so much for joining me, Gizz. Thanks for everybody for joining us here at Almost Famous Magazine. And I look forward to hanging with you again soon, buddy. You take it easy.
You too.